I was putting on my husband or my children. But what it did do was teach me the patterns that can be duplicated for other people to find ways to navigate and embrace these experiences that we would rather push away. We resist things. And I want you to know that your energy and your emotions and everything that you have in your being responds to these things. We are here to learn about managing the resources that we have. And some of us were given a lot of resources as children and others not so many. Maybe your coping skills weren't so great. But you get to learn now. And that's the beauty of the human system, is that we are intelligence. Every cell of our body is intelligence. And everything around us will be formed around the thoughts that we think. And so you can shift your energy. You can shift your beliefs. You can shift the way that your physical body feels and experiences life. And you can shift the perception of the trauma, loss, or grief that you're having. So when we talk about the energy field, I want you to think about one of the energy systems. We are not covering all of them. It's one of my favorite things to speak about, and you can find information in different courses that I teach. But out of the 9 systems, the 3 energy systems you might be most familiar with are the aura, or the energy field. You might be familiar with the chakra system or the meridians. Those are the 3 main ones that we hear traditional Chinese medicine talked about. Now, there are several different systems. There's 6 other ones that won't get brought up, but I think it's really important for you to understand your energy field, because as you go through trauma, grief, and loss, and as you're having resilience in your daily life, your energy field is much like the Earth's atmosphere. You can see in this picture how the energy comes off almost in different colors. There's different vibrational rates. But what is the job of the energy field around the Earth? What is the job of the energy field around your body? It is a filter. It allows things from planet Earth to come out and things from the outside to come in. But there's a filter, there's a barrier there to protect you. And your energy field is exactly that for you, for your system. It protects you. It separates you from what is not you, and also connects you to that which is, right? So you are connected. You are interconnected with everything that exists. Just like this atmosphere around the Earth, just think of you and your atmosphere around you that connects with the atmospheres around everybody else. And it's fascinating. And this energy field around our planet, some say with global warming and pollution and different things, it can get weakened. There can be problems. Things can breach and come inside. And it's the same with your energy field. So imagine that this energy field is there for a filter to protect you, and it's based off of the beliefs that you have on a subconscious level. And imagine that if you have beliefs that are harmful to you or events that happen to you, that this protective barrier can weaken. And so there are things that you can do. Some of the things that you can do are work with your essential oils. I adore essential oils. I feel in my personal life that they have given me so much to add upon to my health, right? They have been able to bridge what I call the energetic and the physical bodies. They bridge the emotional body with the physical body and the emotional body. They are an amazing bridge. They are a nonverbal way of working with all the different systems. And if you would take the time to understand how these oils work, you would have amazing tools. So there are several books, but one of the ones that we use for emotions is Emotions and Essential Oils. They have taken each of our oils and broken them down into categories. Like you can look at each emotion that you're having, or you might look at each oil and break it down into the feelings you're having. But when you think about your energy field, or you think about the energy system, one of the ways that you can work with it to strengthen it, particularly with trauma, grief, and loss, is that give yourself one word that describes how you feel and look that up in the book. Or just simply pull out your oils and smell an oil and find an oil that works for you. Find one that you're drawn to. There's times when you work with oils you're drawn to, and times that you want to work with those that you're not drawn to, depending on what you're wanting to accomplish. But in times where your system needs structure and security, work with the oils that you're drawn to. And think about strengthening this energy field, because it truly is that foundation that keeps you safe inside your system. We talked about just briefly the chakra system. The chakras, imagine that your energy field around you as that filter lets information come in and out. I love to think of it like the cell wall. The cell wall allows information to come in and out, right? It's almost like an antenna, all those little receptor sites and information coming in and out. Think of the chakra system as a library. Think of all of the information coming in from your environment or coming out is stored within these banks of these spinning discs, right? So it's a library system. And so, for example, each of the chakras represent different areas of different organ systems and different emotions that you have. And so things that have to do with your first family or grounding or safety, the blood, things of that nature would be located in that chakra at the bottom, represented in red. And as you move up the chakra system, each of them have a different responsibility and a role. So energy comes in, it's stored within the chakra system, and then it's sent to the meridian system. The meridians like highways all over, and they each are represented by organs of the body. And so they all have these different roles, and they take these informations and they feed the internal whether it's an organ or system of the body. So imagine all of this communication happening, just like in the cells of your body. I have a quote that I love, and it's as above, so below, as within, so without. So what you see happening on a cellular level, when I'm speaking about energy or the physical body or even the emotional body, it's all happening on a cellular level, just like it's happening all the way in our large universe, and the universe is beyond anything that we can see. So we have these patterns that we know we can be certain about, so we can actually then work within them to find harmony. And imagine that every single person that you work with and communicate with also has this energy field and these chakras and these meridians. And energy wants to find balance. Energy always wants to harmonize. So have you ever walked into a room with somebody and you know immediately that you're going to be best friends? There's just something so powerful. It's almost like you've known that person before. Or have you walked into a room and you feel unsafe, or you feel uncomfortable because maybe there was just an argument, the energy feels prickly, or you know immediately that you don't trust someone. So what you see in this description, in this picture, is imagine that when you have energy that's come in from the very beginning of your existence, think of your energy field around you as a biocomputer. That's the way that I see it. I see the world in a grid. Everything is in energy. It's in this biocomputer format. And when you meet somebody, your biocomputer and their biocomputer begin to interact. So in the case that we're talking about today, if you're the one experiencing a trauma, grief, or loss, and you have caretakers or family members or coworkers, or for that matter, anybody in the news media, anybody that you're connected to on a thought basis, you're interacting with different biocomputers. Many of you out there are empathic. Do you know what that means? I didn't know what that meant for a lot of years, but I knew what it meant to have empathy, that I could feel what other people felt, but I didn't know how to manage it very well. And that's where having some boundaries and working with your energy field, that aura, to make it strong and resilient, so that that filter helps you know where you stop and other people begin. So you can see that there's an overlap in here. And so when we're working with our own issues, or you're helping another person in a trauma, imagine that you're overlapping energy systems. You might not have had that event or that trauma in your life, but you're going to have an energy system that feels like it might. And so some of the oils that I have used in the past would be oils like clove or melaleuca, purify. You could use On Guard or something of that nature that helps to naturally create boundaries. What creates boundaries on the inside of your body will also create boundaries on the outside of your body. And I just wanted you to be aware in this portion is that you are interacting. There's no way that you cannot. And when your energy field is compromised, then you're going to have less of who you are and more of who the people around you are. So it's important for you to know who you are, to know what your purpose is, and be grounded in your own field, so that you can have more resiliency when you're working in situations that require more energy than normal days. So we talked about some of the oils that I liked, and simply I like to use figure eights. Figure eights weave energy together. So when you're working with essential oils, you can put a drop in your hand, rub your hands together, and simply do figure eights around your body. You can do very small ones. You can do them over an organ system. But doing figure eights, whatever direction feels right to you, can help to strengthen that energy field. I love to put music on because music moves the soul. Sound is actually a foundational element of creation. So sound is so important. The way, maybe you've heard of toning or something like that. We're going to talk about breathing in a minute and adding some sound to it, or having some songs on. But I have found that music can create a state of mind. And when you combine that with essential oils, you can shift the way that you're feeling. So just if you want to have an instant reaction in your energy system, put a drop of oil in your hand, take a deep breath so it goes instantly into the lungs, into the bloodstream, into the oxygenation of your body. Breathe in and out a few deep times, and then do some figure eights around your body. Another way to almost instantly affect all energy systems, but particularly your aura, is to put a drop in your mouth of an oil that is protective, and it will instantly put up this shield. It's immediate. So if you're feeling a little bit insecure, then one of the things that you could do is try that right now. Try to just stop and take a deep breath and use an oil to see what happens. So we talked about prevention, and I want to introduce you to an idea that I learned a long time ago, and I learned it in my personal life as well through experience. But because we can't create energy, we can gather it, we can call it in from other areas, but you yourself cannot create that energy. God has created what we have around us, and we use it to build, to construct, to change. We can manipulate the energy and mold it. But because there are some laws on this universe, we are here on a planet of polarities. So because of that, I want you to think about that neutral balance of energy. I want you to imagine that you have, for an example, you're going through your daily life and you're pretty spread thin, and then a trauma happens. You don't have a lot of cushion to be able to deal with these things, and that's what the studies show. So the people who've invested in their personal well-being prior to something traumatic happening tend to be able to navigate it easier. And so I'm gonna give you a little scenario about prevention, and I want you to think about this for a minute. Maybe even get out a piece of paper and write these things down. And then later on, when we're not on this call together, I want you to think about the numbers a little bit better, okay? So the first is that you get a certain amount of money or energy every single day. And I'm going to be your banker for a minute, and we're going to balance our checkbook. You have energy coming in and you have energy coming out. So at the end of your day, do you have a balance of energy coming in and out? Do you have more energy in, you have reserves, or are you at a deficit on a daily basis? So imagine that you get $100 or 100 units of energy a day. Every single day when you wake up, there's $100 in your bank account, and you get to spend it on whatever you want. So remember, most of what we do is based off of unconscious programming. So imagine over the course of your lifetime, your credit card bill, right? Are you always in the red? I don't know. This is something that I want you to write down and take some time thinking about. So if you got $100 a day and you spent, and be realistic with yourself, how much money are you spending on anger? How much money are you spending on that ex-husband that you can't stand? Or that lady who cut you off? Or your parents because they did so much wrong to you when you were a child? Or your job that you lost? Or the house that went in foreclosure? Or your health challenges? I want you to make a list of everything you're spending money on, and I want you to put a dollar amount to it. How much money am I spending on these issues on a daily basis? And then You know how much money you have. You have $100 coming in. So put it into those ratios. At the end of a day, where are you? At the end of a week, where are you? At the end of a year, where are you? If you were to go back the last 20 years or 40 years, I don't know how old you guys are, but if you were to go back and you were to add those up, how much money is on your credit card? Because the energy has to come from somewhere. Your system must survive. Now, some of us survive with grace and we have energy and resiliency and we feel joy. Some of us get out of bed every morning and we don't want to get up. We feel depressed and we want to pull the covers over our head. And remember that energy field should fill up 6 to 8 feet around you. It can fill up a room. Have you ever been in a room with somebody who's joyful and just excited about something? Or maybe a pregnant woman? Have you ever felt the joy that comes from having another being inside you and you're so excited? And what do we call those pregnant women? We say, you're glowing. You're absolutely stunning right now. You look so good pregnant, because you have another life in there that has its own source of energy that's adding to your own. Remember, we're mingling those energies and expanding out. But when your energy feels compromised, or you feel hurt or depressed or angry, all of those stages, your energy field crashes in around you, and it can come very, very close to your skin. That doesn't give you very much tolerance to interact with other people. And so what I ask you is you look at your bank account and look at all of those things. Where are the debits? Where are you spending your money on a daily basis, and what's left over? And if you're in debt, what are you going to do about it? Because many of you want to be prepared to handle life as it comes. And many of you want to create with your life. You are sent here to be creators. And because you were sent here to create, it's natural. It's inside your head. It's in your chakras. It's in your cells. You want to express life and your purpose. You came here with something singularly just for you to create your purpose. And then we have multiple purposes that interact with the global view of things. But you have something that only you can add. You are this amazing thread in the fabric of this life. And so you feel depressed outside of trauma, grief, or loss or abuse and all those things. But when we feel depressed, sometimes it's because we're not expressing what we want to be creating and what we came here to do. And it's frustrating. All of us would be frustrated. And what I'm here to tell you as your banker is, if you were to write this and you say, I've got $500,000 in debt on this credit card, but I have this dream to be successful with my purpose, with my business, in my relationships with my family, and you don't have enough money to fund it. So when trauma or something happens that you're already in a deficit, you can't handle it. So there are some things that you can do to increase the money that you're making on a daily basis. How about that? You can have joy. Anytime you serve or smile or do something that's joyful, put on music, dance, create the energy waves around you, connect with life, go out in nature, ground yourself. Those are things that add value and add money to your bank account energetically. So there's a lot of things you can do to get out of debt. In fact, you could pay off a bill by winning the lottery. What does winning the lottery look like to you? Make a list then of the things that bring you joy. And are you spending time doing those things? Do you have the self-care? Are you investing in you? Do you feel heard? Do you feel loved? Because I will tell you from personal experience that these experiences that we feel, the beliefs that we have, may not have been given to us, but we are responsible for them now. And if I feel lonely, if I feel abused, if I feel abandoned, if I feel hurt or insecure, it is my responsibility, me alone as a soul, to find a way to shift those beliefs, because the beliefs shift the energy. The fastest way to shift that energy is through your beliefs and through the essential oils and through the way that we are living. And all of a sudden you can start paying off that debt, and all of a sudden you start to have a surplus, because you recognize through your day, maybe consciously at first, you may start to recognize that you don't want to spend money on that anymore. It is not worth the attachment. And I'll bring in something else here: attachment versus commitment. This has completely changed my life. I am committed to be successful. I'm committed to live my purpose. I'm committed to having joy and to having productive relationships that feel good and to serving my fellow man. I'm committed to these things so deeply, my spiritual convictions and the way that I want to live my life. I'm committed. But most of my life, I was attached. I was attached to what it looked like. I was judgmental in how it showed up. And I hurt the people around me. I hurt my husband and my children because I was so attached to the outcome. So while now I feel more committed, I'm open to being present in each moment, to be able to let whatever shows up be divinely inspired, to be present in the moment and to not have a preconceived idea of what that might look like. Now, I'm a big fan of creating blueprints, and creating something concrete gives a place for the energy to flow. However, there has to be flexibility because we are limited in the things that we're thinking of. Sometimes we're basing it off of past experiences, and we don't even know how to dream about something amazing. We've maybe never had that experience before. So think about the difference between attachment and commitment and allow life to flow, because when I had to deal with my mom's pancreatic liver cancer and I became her sole caregiver or her primary caregiver for the last 2.5 months of her life and a week out of every month for almost 2 years, I want to tell you that I didn't want that to be my story. I didn't want my Lyme disease to be my story, or the losses or the abuse or the things that I've experienced in my life. I didn't necessarily imagine that was my story. However, I see the value and I take responsibility for what I did create, and the things that I have no control over, I'm able to allow myself to flow through that. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. I have to learn over and over. But can you see how these tools, and by consciously thinking about it, will help you to come up with ideas for the future? Start now. Start where you are. I don't care how much in debt you are. You can pay that off. And then you can start growing and thriving. And then you come to me as a banker and say, I have these dreams, or I had this situation happen and I'd like to get to the other side of it. And I'm going to look at your bank account and I'm going to go, you know what? You have $15,000 in the bank account right now. How much of that do you want to allocate toward this? And maybe it's not that simple, but maybe it is. So I want you to think about that for a little bit. I want to talk about the Kubler-Ross model of stages of grief. This is not the only way to look at the stages of grief and loss. There are several systems out there when you start diving into psychology, but this is one that's very popular. And I'm going to talk about the first stage primarily today because I feel like energy medicine has so much that it can do as we work with the stages of the first stage, which is really denial, and I added isolation and shock. I feel like this is that first stage for a reason, and it's the one that I believe, if it's dealt with, can help us navigate the other four, or depending on which system you're using, can help us navigate those other stages. Now, I like to call them spaces. I like the spaces much better than phases of grief or stages of grief. These are spaces. There's no order to them. We call them the 5 stages, but that doesn't mean they happen in sequential order, right? There's all these different ways that you can look at them. So imagine that you can feel all of them at once. You can feel them at different times, and they can pop up all over the place randomly. So you think, gosh, I've worked through shock, I've worked through denial and anger. I've gone through, because the other ones are bargaining, depression, acceptance. I've worked through all those, and then all of a sudden you feel shock again. You have something surfaces. And it's one of the reasons that I'm in love with essential oils, is that they layer very naturally through and gently through the way that we are processing information. There's an intelligence somehow to them, and it could be just chemical. I don't mean that they're like alive and awake and these things, but there is an intelligence in the way that each essential oil has a chemical constituent. Some of them, like say peppermint, has 200 chemical constituents, and they all activate in different ways in your chemistry, in your brain chemistry and your body chemistry. And so, just imagine that we don't even know very much about these oils, but they can be used for so many different things, and they bridge what we're experiencing. So that's why I really, really like these. Denial is really important. And even though, nobody wants to feel like they're in denial, but denial helps us survive whatever loss or grief that we're having. It's important to have it. It's nature's grace to us because it allows us to gently distill what we can handle at a time. And that's, again, like I talked about essential oils, is they soften the soil of the mind. When you smell an essential oil, it goes directly into your brain chemistry, and it works with a part of the brain called the limbic system. And your limbic system has one piece of it called the amygdala. And your amygdala is the storehouse of emotions and memories and some of the patterns that we have. So if you get to know each of these oils, like I mentioned earlier in the book, or just through smell and personal experience, that you can target very specific emotions that you're having, depending on the space you're in. So if you're experiencing denial, isolation, and shock, there are specific oils that work with that. But denial allows us to pace the feelings of grief. When you have a shock to the system, I'm going to tap into your energy system again. When you have a shock, imagine just like your car has a shock. When you go over a bump in the road, you have shocks in the car. It absorbs that pressure so it doesn't break apart the different, axles. And I'm not a car person, but whatever is in that car, it allows you not to have such a bumpy ride on the inside of the car, and it doesn't break the different metal parts of your car. Your energy system is the very same way. So you have foundational energy, and we call it the basic grid. When something very shocking happens to your system, it can shake your basic grid. Now, fortunately for you, you have this grid system that will take the shock, much like the shocks in your car. Sometimes when the shock is profound enough or fast enough or unexpected or just severe, it will actually break these grid lines. And when those grid lines get broken energetically, lots of things happen in your life and lots of patterns form around the distortion of energy. Sometimes they get distorted, they get bent, they get thin, and they can't perform that foundation. So if you have a physical illness or something going on with your physical body, chances are, do you notice the chakra system underneath the grid? Chances are that whatever happened to occur that was shocking affected one of those chakra systems in the grid and the responsible organs, and it's affecting your physical body over time. Sometimes it's immediate, like, have you ever seen a little parakeet has a heart attack when a cat comes? We have a little bit more grid system than a parakeet, but you might notice that the area of your body that seems to be the most compromised is going to correlate. We have a lot of heart or breast issues in our society. We have a lot of, don't we? So think about where those areas of your body are, and then go look up the energy systems. I wish I had time in this program, but you know that this is a very short time for me to talk about energy systems on top of how we deal with them with grief and loss. But imagine your throat, you have thyroid issues. Imagine your throat is about speaking truth and about manifesting. Think about the organ systems for what they represent, and you're going to find some clues as to where that grid might have had some shock to it. So that's one area, is the grid. One of the things you can do when your system's been in shock, I'm going to give you some energy medicine tips right now. It's called opening the gates. When we open the gates of the system, you're going to work with your hands and your feet. You're going to work on the outside. You can work on the inside too, but just simply do a massage where you're working on the intercostal bones between each of your fingers. These are the gates of your hands. You do the same thing with your feet, and you do the same thing at the top of your head, is massage those gates, because energy gets stuck. It gets stuck, particularly with shock. I'm going to show you how shock comes in through the bottoms of your feet. So in order for shock not to stick, we have to be willing to let it disseminate. So we're going to open up and pull the energy off our fingers, but really it gets stuck in between these bones. So really get in here and massage these bones. Now it's easier for me to demonstrate from the back, and it's harder for you to see here, but really get in there, and you'll find areas that are sore. Stay on those areas and take a deep breath. In and out. And massage all of your hands off your fingers. Do the same with your feet. Open up those gates so that as you start to work with yourself, regardless of what technique you're using, this is the first thing to do, is just open up the gates of these energies. Now, shock comes in, you see that point at the bottom of the heel. As shock comes in through the body, you're going to want to be able to let shock disperse. So Peter Levine is somebody that I've studied in psychology, and I love his work and how he talks about animals. And I believe we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But animals don't store their shock. Human beings, we tend to rationalize things. We tend to block things. When shock is happening, if we would just run around the block or scream into a pillow or allow ourselves to move the energy, the shock wouldn't get stored in the body. So allow it to just come up. And shock can come in through the feet, and it can come all the way up through the back of the calves and be stored even in the back of the knees. So there's a meridian called triple warmer or triple heater in traditional Chinese medicine. That meridian is that fight or flight response. And so you can massage oils. I love peppermint. Peppermint's one of my favorite oils for shock. And you can massage it into that place on the heel and all the way around. Just imagine massaging all the way around the base of the heel, that little circle right there on that pad, and massage it and pulse those points with the peppermint. And then even massage all the way up the Achilles heel into the belly of that gastrocnemius, that calf muscle, and watch what happens. If you know somebody's going in shock, or you've been in shock and you massage their feet, that could be that they got stung by a bee, or they're in a car accident on the side of the road, or something is happening traumatic to them that they can't control. Massage the bottoms of their feet. Now, kidney 1 is the life source and grounding point in the body. So that is always a good oil to use. And you could use something like vetiver or myrrh. You could use something calming. I love balance there. There's lots of oils that we can use on the kidney point there. So grounding at the kidney 1 and that pulse point on the heel are excellent for shock. And then that triple meridian, that triple warmer meridian that I talked about, when we trace it backward, it will help to calm all of the system. Now, I don't expect you to remember all of these things, but I wanted to just bring a few things to your awareness that you can trace this meridian backward, and it will help to calm your whole system. And you just start out by your eye, right here at the eye, at the end of the eyebrow, and go over and around your ears, over the shoulder, and you can see right in the diagram, and off your ring finger. Sometimes just holding your ring finger over your heart and taking a deep breath is one of the things that I like to do a lot. Just take a deep breath, and that will help to calm things. Have you ever seen a mother calm her child, or somebody who's nervous when they're speaking, when they play with their hair like this? What are they doing? Do you see where that meridian is? They're calming triple warmer, and that is saying, hey, everything is going to be okay. So very gently, very, very slowly use essential oils over this line. Grounding oils, calming oils, basil, zendocrine, myrrh, vetiver, peace, anything, frankincense that would create a calming state can almost help you shift and avoid the way that you're feeling when it's not in your best interest. Here's another cute one, fun one. I love that little girl, is what we call the triple warmer spleen hug. Your triple warmer, we just showed you, I traced it here, so you can actually put your arm here. It's interesting to me when I work with myself and other people, when I start to, and you don't even have to touch your body, but it's nice too. When I start going over, I can feel where it disconnects. Like I can literally go, it feels a little fuzzy right here. But when you do that, be in tune with your body and take some deep breaths and put one hand on your triple warmer and another hand on your spleen meridian. All right, so see that? You got triple warmer spleen going on right here. And just hug yourself and rock yourself like a little baby. There's something to rocking that calms the triple warmer meridian. The triple warmer is like the police force in your body, right? So we want to be able to calm it and say, the shock is no longer there. It's going to be okay. And we can help to reprogram auto stress responses through some of the techniques I just showed you. Now, the vagus nerve, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve, look at where it's connected. So I can give you all the scientific, I have this great printout of the vagus nerve to talk about all of its elements, but I'm going to keep it really simple for you due to time. The vagus nerve starts at the base of the cerebellum and it goes all the way down. Look at all of the organs it's connected to. This nerve is like the gatekeeper of your nervous system. It really, really manages the way that you feel. All right, so you want to have a healthy vagus tone, and what that means is that it's able to come up and down at the right times. So what happens is when you breathe in, that vagus tone, well, they call it a vagal tone, will increase the rate of your heart, and as you exhale, it will decrease it. So that's the healthy, normal pattern for it. And the key to slowing your heart rate is deep breath. So there was a scientist, he was a physiologist, and he discovered early on, this was like 1921, he figured out that through deep breathing, through breath, that you could have a reduction in your heart rate. And when that happened, that there was actually a neurotransmitter released. It's called acetylcholine. And this is like, it's like a dream come true for many of us. It's literally a tranquilizer. So when you take a deep breath and exhale very, very slowly, and I would say even add some add some tone to it, add that sound. And if you will do this, you will release this neuropeptide that calms your entire system. What a great tool that we can. So we can consciously tap into this power right within us that controls, look at its branches connect to your throat, to your heart, to your lungs, and look at what's connected to your stomach. Look at all of those in your stomach. So your gut-brain connection is real. It's connected to your spleen to metabolize and the fear that flows through the kidneys and the small intestines and your colon, all through taking a deep breath and releasing that neurotransmitter. What a fantastic tool that is. So remember to breathe. When you think about the sympathetic nervous system, this vagus nerve controls this response. Now your fight, flight, or freeze response happens with the sympathetic response. And you can see all of the different areas that it works with, right? So sympathetic is, hey, I'm showing up. I'm getting ready to move. I'm getting out of danger. But your parasympathetic is to calm. It brings things back into balance. It creates a homeostasis in the body. So we have oils that work with the sympathetic response, and we have oils that work with the parasympathetic. And you know which ones they are if you know oils well enough, because any of them that are stimulating are going to work with that that sympathetic. The calming ones are going to work with your parasympathetic. So we want to be able to have a state of well-being, and that's healthy. Now, many of you may not know that there's actually 3 parts to the nervous system. So the enteric nervous system is that gut brain. And so parasympathetic, sympathetic, and enteric nervous system work together to be able to create harmony, which is why the food you eat is so important. All the laws of health are very instrumental in the way that you feel, and that energy bank account that you're building up, everything that you do that takes care of these nervous systems is going to add money into your account. So please practice. Now, do you notice where her hands are? One is above her belly button. That's where your adrenals, in energy medicine, there's 2 points there. You're holding your adrenals and you're holding your heart. As you take a deep breath, you can activate that neurotransmitter and create a calming state in your body regardless of what is happening. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can always stop and take a deep breath. Those are what I call access points for essential oils. You can place the oils underneath your hands, take a deep breath of them, place them in those places, and take some deep breaths. It's very, very simple that you can do. We talked about the triple warmer. Again, you can trace that with the oils. Anything that you can do to calm and regulate those systems. Very quickly, I want to talk about a healthy nervous system. We just showed you what they are, and you should be able to move up and down. And that's flexibility. That's called resiliency. I can handle stress, and I can get back into normal mode in a timely manner. But somebody who's having symptoms of undischarged traumatic stress, this is what it looks like, those spikes in black. So remember, the shock points on the bottom of the feet, this is what looks like when we don't take care of stress right away. We don't deal with it away. We don't allow ourselves to express it, to feel it, to experience it. that sympathetic response can get stuck on. It's like the sirens went off for the tornado and you went down in the shelter, but they never went off. You kept like days, weeks, months, you're in the tornado shelter down there and you never know it's safe because the sirens are still going on. They got stuck on and your system gets out of balance in that way. Or maybe they've been on for so long that the adrenals begin to just get exaggerated and they begin to just, you've exhausted everything. And then you might get stuck in the parasympathetic. And your parasympathetic response is when you are depressed and you're flat, you're lethargic, you don't feel. This is a place where a lot of people feel that denial. So there's ways of having grace with yourself and understanding that this is what's happening. But we do want to get back to this state where we are in a homeostasis pattern so that the body can function again. All right, this is not a great long-term plan. And this work was by Peter Levine, and I love, fortunately, the same immense energies that create the symptoms of trauma, when properly engaged and mobilized, can transform the trauma and propel us into new heights of healing, mastery, and wisdom. And that is my goal for each of you today, is to be able to take the experiences that you've had and to take that energy, because it's benign and you get to change the role that it plays. You can change the beliefs. You can make it neutral again so that you can use that energy to create beautiful things in your life with that help to support your purpose. Right? So think of that energy field and ways that we can use it. I have this experiment that I do with myself when my energy field has been compromised. I made this up while I was laying in bed with my Lyme, that my energy field didn't feel like it extended out very far beyond me, and so I couldn't handle a lot of things emotionally or physically. And so what I imagined is that I had this field around me, and I made it like a fly zapper, like a bug zapper, right? If I knew that energy is benign or it's just neutral, then any energy sent to me through the form of somebody else thinking thought about me, or somebody saying, oh, you look terrible, I hope you get better, or I'm so sorry for you, I hope you don't die, or whatever they were saying. That's what their look said to me. They would send that to me, and my energy field would instantly, as it came through my aura, it would instantly neutralize it back to zero. And I would pull it into my chakra. Maybe I put it in my heart chakra, and then I could use that to help feed the life or the visions that I was having for myself. And this works. It works for me every single time when people are saying something, or the politics are getting heavy, or people, I come home from Haiti and I feel like, oh my gosh, we have first world problems here. Stop fighting over these silly things. Look at what's happening in our world. Show up for each other with love and respect and just compassion. And sometimes when I feel that way, then I stop and I use my oils and I take a deep breath. And I imagine my energy field filtering that energy, that hatred and that anger and bigotry and things that don't serve any of us on the planet. And I make them neutral. And then I use them to send out to my projects, to my business, to my family, to my loved ones. Right? So that's just a little tip that I do with myself. So we've got all this energy all around us. What are you going to do with your energy? So I'm going to just briefly go through the other stages of grief and give you some ideas on them, because each of them are equally important. So denial was that first one, or isolation or shock. But then when you start to come back into your body and you're willing or able to move forward in your trauma, then you might discover that one of the first things you feel is anger, and that's absolutely normal. In our society, a lot of people feel like anger is not appropriate, but actually anger is vital to the healing process. It allows us to heal, and when we feel, we can then accept these things that are going on with us. Underneath the anger is oftentimes the pain that we need to layer through gently before we can get there. Anger is strength, and it can be an anchor giving us temporary structure to the nothingness of loss. I love that quote. I thought that was amazing. At first, grief feels like a lost sea with no connection to anything. And then as you move in and drop into the emotions that we might feel, anger or other ones, you're going to have a bridge. You're going to have something to anchor into, and that's your gift for a short time. And that anger does become a bridge to the open sea. It's something for you to hold on to until you're ready to layer into the other feelings or emotions that come up. One of the oils that I love for anger is thyme. It is for that deep seething anger. And it has a lot of properties, but time will help us to deal with that poignant feeling that we have and to redirect it and to have more understanding and openness with it. As we move into the next one, it's bargaining. All right. Your anger starts to go away. You start to get into the reality of where you are, and you start to say, what if, or if only, and you start to bargain. What does it look like to bargain? Right? We might start bargaining with ourselves, with the doctors, with our caretakers, with nobody, just out loud to God. All of these sources that we begin to bargain and think about what life could have been like if it didn't happen. And we just keep saying, what if life was returned back to normal? And in this stage, we are remaining in the past instead of being present and looking forward with what's possible in our future. So this phase or this space can last a short time, or it can last a lifetime. And a lot of that has to do with the tools that we have and how we are willing to enter and leave these spaces. And we can flip in and out of them. So you might start bargaining and then you go back into anger because it's not happening. And then you go into denial again. And then you come back to bargaining. Please let this happen. Please bring my loved one back. Or please help me to just have my body part back. Or I didn't want to see that, or something of this nature, like whatever it is you're going through. And then as you go through that stage, you might want to tap into some essential oils that are lovely and helpful. And one of the ones, there's so many, you could use geranium, you could use any of them. Depression is then when that all sets in. That sets in, your bargaining's done, you move into the present, and you have empty feelings, and they present themselves. And the grief enters in at the deepest level that you can ever imagine, that this is now my life. Like when I lost my mom, like I can't believe this is my story. How did she get pancreatic cancer? How did she get liver and stomach cancer? She never drank a drop in her lifetime. She had a healthy diet. She lived the laws of health for the most part. How does this happen? And you start to rationalize and question, and then there's no more sense of it, and you drop into this space. And this is okay. Know that where you are, there's a purpose for it, because some of these spaces allow you to think and to process. That's why I like to call them spaces, because you're in this place. Sometimes you can't even define where it is, and you're there. And it's a learning ground. It's a time for you to absorb and to be present. And then as you use your essential oils like geranium or so many others, I could go on and on and on about it, but just please look up in your emotion book or one of your resource books. This little oil magic is one of my favorite ones that I've been using right now. Of course, we have things like Louise Hay. We have energy medicine, which is where my training comes from, and the things that I've been teaching you today. There's so many techniques and ways that you can utilize these oils and pick out oils or different techniques to help you navigate your journey. And then you land on acceptance. And please understand that acceptance does not mean that it is okay. Acceptance is a natural state that you get to, but it's about accepting the reality that your loved one is gone or the event happened, and this is the way that the new life would be. You know, eventually we're going to accept it. It doesn't mean that we'll ever get used to it or love it, but you will learn to live a new life, and you'll have to create new things. You'll have to make that reality for you. You'll recognize that roles have changed. You'll reassign them to others and take them on yourself. So there's lots of things that you'll recognize at this last phase. Rosemary is a really great oil to use when you're transitioning. I love how it allows the mind to think about options that we never thought about, and to take the information of those spaces that we've experienced and make some sort of sense with them. And if we don't make any sense with them, that's absolutely okay as well. We just have to learn to be present and navigate life on a daily basis in this way. And those are the 5 stages of grief. And I just want to end with talking about some things that are in this Emotions and Essential Oils book. This is the latest version of it. That's the cover of it. And within this book, I've added to it, but I want to give you just a few little insights that have helped me. And if I had longer, I would go over this. It's in the 6-week course that I teach. But essential oils assist in healing your physical body, living the laws of health, having good nutrition, working with your gut brain, and doing the things like sleep and hydration and elimination and eliminating stress and toxic loads on the bodies. These things that assist the physical body also have spaces or stages of healing, just like the stages of grief do, and they go along with each other. And essential oils can assist in that. A lot of times, addressing the physical body first is the only way that we can work with the emotion. So hit where it's screaming the loudest at you. The next part of it is they assist in healing the heart. Once your physical body is not yelling at you and screaming at you, then all of a sudden you have the ability to drop into the heart and deal with the emotional aspect of these things. And essential oils do assist in working with limiting beliefs. This is a world in and of itself right now. There's so much out there with EFT and Psych K and EMDR and the journey and all these different techniques that we have found to bypass the conscious mind to get directly into the subconscious programming, which is running your physiology, right? So there's working with your limiting beliefs in the best way possible, and oils bridge this with you and help you to reprogram stress responses. Essential oils assist in creating a vitality and flow in the energy field, as we talked about earlier, and they help to increase our spiritual awareness and connection. Why am I here? What is my purpose? And how am I navigating this life to bring me the greatest state of joy? Men are that they might have joy. That is why we came here, and we are all going to define that differently, and you're here to discover that. And having a spiritual awareness can be really accentuated by the use of essential oils, as it helps to soften and to help us have new insights. And essential oils, this is something that I added to the book above, but essential oils inspire the fulfillment of our life's purpose, right? Because once you've discovered all of these areas, your physical body, your heart, your limiting beliefs, the flow of energy, your connection spiritually to your purpose and who you are, this fulfillment of your life purpose, this epiphany and the gratitude that comes. There's not a day that goes by that I don't say thank you to my God for what I've experienced. Not that I want to live it again, but for what I gained for the better. And I'm a strong believer in the stages of healing. And so I hope that you guys will take some of this information and just think about it, particularly the energy bank account and where you're spending your money on a daily basis, what you can do immediately if there's a shock by working with those heal points and things of that nature. So please feel free. My website is getting up there right now. My courses are available. I have a 6-week course that takes each of the subjects and breaks it down into 90-minute modules, five modules within 90 minutes over the course of 6 weeks. And anything that has to do with trauma, grief, or shock are in that course. It's very, very comprehensive. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you guys and to be a part of your journey today. And hopefully you will have some tools to play with.
Thank you so much, Kristin. That was awesome. I learned so much, as every time I listen to you, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she knows more. And you're just amazing. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And I hope that you guys have enjoyed today. It has been a information-packed day with lots of different tools, lots of different ideas, and lots of new resources. And so watch for this recording. They will be sent out once I'm able to upload everything and get them processed, but they will be emailed out, and as well as the contact information for all of our amazing speakers today. Have a blessed weekend, and please take some of the information that you have learned today and share it with a friend or a loved one. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.